Hey y'all. Okay, today is the first time I'm doing something here. I'm going to critique a drum recording that was sent to me by one of our fellow Sticks and Wirers. He sent me stems, a master 2-track with music, a drum bus here, and instrumental without drums. So let's just listen to this master here and check the final product. Okay, so we get the idea. Drums, first of all, I think they sound great. The most important thing is the groove is there. Feels really good. Good timing. Sorry, I have dog disruptions here. Good timing. Tones overall sound great to me. It's kind of a squishy drum tone for this thing. It blends with the track nicely. So overall, I think we're ahead of the game. So basically, let's just go through some individual sounds here. And I'll show you what I found. I made a couple of changes. Some of them are personal preferences, but I think some of them will help in the long run. Okay, so the overheads, here they are on their own. In general, great. A nice stereo spread. They're kind of doing that kind of mid-rangey, high range overhead thing that these do. Oh boy. And so I just did a few EQ things and a little bit of compression just to, clarify mix-wise and bring them out a little bit. So mainly, I put a high pass on these. I brought these all the way up to 160. Let's check out the difference with these on and off with the high pass. So as you can hear, there's a little more clarity. The other thing I did was I ducked some of this around around 500, 522. I ducked it by 4K, and it just pulled out some of this mid-range stuff. What it did was by pulling that mid-range out, it made the high end a little more clear. Let's add some compression on these, just slight. It's at a 2-to-1 ratio. We're not hitting it very hard. Input is 5. We're not taking off too much of attack. So let's check this out. So basically that's just giving it a little more presence. it's a slight bit of volume, but it's just some presence. It helps just to clarify those a little bit. Kick out. Let's check this out soloed. Okay, so it sounds like the drum is tuned nicely. It's nice and low. To me, it just needs a little bit of defining the sound. It's a little bit muddy to me. So what can we do here to work on that? So believe it or not, I did a high pass here around 30 hertz. Sometimes it's good to take out those super low things. That low, it's not doing much in the mix. And the other thing is about 372 hertz here. I ducked that. So some of this low mid-rangey stuff, it's nice. That just helps clear out a lot of things, a room for instruments, other instruments, things like that. I added a whole lot of, I think it was around 92 hertz here, and I bumped that up by 6 dB, and that's just giving us more low end, just a little more oomph. And then I rolled up I rolled off a whole lot of top end here. So let's just check this out before and after. So here it is with no EQ. So you can hear how that has more oomph from the low end. Some of that snare bleed into the kick mic, with this top end rolled off, is disappearing. So that's going to help define the sound overall. Just make it more clear for a mixer, so they would have less to do. And then a little bit of compression here, 3-to-1 ratio. Again, try not to hit it too hard. We're trying to keep all the transients there. I'll add the compression here. Okay, so it's just giving a little bit of more of a point on that initial transient. Let's go to the kick in mic here. Okay, so this is labeled kick attack. To my ears, there's a lot of bottom snare in this mic. So I'm wondering if it's facing the batter head and it's maybe something in a figure 8 position where we're getting some bottom snare in there also. Maybe it should be labeled differently. But this is one point of confusion I had. So what I did was, because it's labeled kick attack and I felt like the kick drum could be a little more defined, and I wanted maybe a hair more punch out of this. Of course, that's just my opinion. But as an individual sound, what I want is more clarity out of this particular sound. So what I did here for EQ was, again, I rolled off some of these subby low ends right here, and I ducked at about 700. That seemed to be like a frequency that was kind of bugging me here. So let's check that out. Okay, so what that's doing is I'm boosting a whole bunch of 3K here, but what that's doing is it's cutting out that frequency right below the 3K to help it define that 3K more, that attack that the inside kick should be going for. And because I was hearing so much snare bleed, bottom snare. Again, I rolled off a whole lot of this. Let's check out what this does. So you can hear that's taking the bottom snare away because it's the top end. But we're not going so far. We're not going low enough to take away that 3K, that attack that we're going for. Okay, so that was helpful. Again, maybe it was just a matter of relabeling the mic, but to me, well, again, I wanted more punch out of this kick drum, so grabbing those frequencies helped. And just again, a little more compression. I'll add that here. Okay, so just bringing out that punch with the compression. I have a quick release on here, so we're trying to not hang on to any of those aftertones after the attack. Okay, snare, here we go. Okay, so I like the tuning of the drum. Sounds nice and fat. Again, just going to try to define it a little more so it's less work on the mixing end. Okay, so what I did here was I cut out a lot of this low end, again at 50 hertz here, because that's totally unnecessary to have in a mic, in a snare mic, that is, sorry. I really boosted a lot of the low end, and I'll show you that with the music in here in a second. Again, cut some mid-range, about 800, and I boosted some of the high end because there was a lot of the high end because there was no bottom snare mic. So let me show you this low end that I did, and I'll put the music in for this. So you can hear how that kind of starts to pop out a bit when we're getting this kind of low mid range. When we're working on this, when we're kind of boosting this low mid range. Again, a little compression. So you can hear it in context with the music there. Again, of course, if we're going to tune our snare that low, let's hear the character of the snare. I really like the sound, so I want to hear it. All right, I'm going to move to the trashy mic right here. Okay, I like the sound of this mic, and in the mix of the whole tune, I felt like we heard a lot of it. I don't think the low end again on this mic is doing anything to help it. The trash part that we're looking for is these kind of 700, 800, 1K, that kind of distorted area. That's really what we want. So I did a huge high pass on this to 160. Let me show you how that changes it. Okay, that's a pretty big difference, right? We're getting really rid of a lot of that muddy low end. Let me give you the whole kit now, and I will do that same move, and you can hear how that changes. So it affects the snare too a lot. It's, to me, it's really kind of drying up the sound, tightening it up, and to me that's helping. It's just less mud stuff flying around the mix. Okay, last but not least, toms. Let's check out the toms. The toms are tuned great. They sound great. Let's get to a fill here, so we're listening to one specific thing. Okay, I'm going to bypass what I did. Again, just a little bit of EQing, actually not much at all. Sounds great to me. Okay, so really what's happening here is the EQ, this Neve channel is on. None of these are moved at all, but it seems to be enhancing it. We're cutting out some low end, and then the compression is just bringing it to our ears a little more. What I did end up doing, and let me show you the floor tom real quick, because that's similar. I didn't EQ it at all. The only thing I did with this was there's a lot of decay. Oh yeah, there's a lot of hi-hat bleed in this tom mic. Let me show you during the groove section. Okay, so a lot of hi-hat, a lot of snare. I don't know if that's mic placement. I don't know if it is the pattern on the mic. I'm not really sure, but to me that, I wanted less of that. That just seems to be sticking out a lot, and it seems like the gain on the rack tom maybe is slightly higher than the floor tom. So what I did is I just put some gates on here, and they're kind of extreme, but I also, that floor tom, as you heard, goes woo, and for me that was hanging out a little too long. What I would do is I would dampen it at the source. I would dampen the floor tom. Again, maybe this is just opinion of sounds that I go for. So I'm not saying this is wrong. It's just what I hear in the mix. It seems to last a long time. Let me give it to you in context with the music. Gate, SSL, best gates. Here it is with the gate. Pretty abrupt, but with the music in. Gets out of the way immediately. There's no kind of weird hangover intonation-wise and things like that. So So here are the toms with the gates. You can hear that rack tom. I'm really cutting most of that hi-hat out. That's going to help us. And there's the floor tom. That's going to help our overall clarification in the drums here. So, all right. So, is this supposed to be a mixing lesson? Definitely not. I don't consider myself a great mixer. I guess what I'm trying to show is if we work on mixing our drums after, it helps us know what to do beforehand and to clarify, especially the kick drums that we've heard, the inside kick, get it more punchy, the outside kick, get it fat if that's what's needed. But try to get that stuff on the front end of it so there's less work to do on the back end. And then when you send the tracks to people, they're really happy because there's less they have to do. You know, kick drums, snare drums fat if it needs to be, or the snare drum is getting hit real hard. Sorry, what's the word? Or the snare drum is punchy, like it maybe it should be for the track. The trash mic is clarified. There's not muddy low end happening to it. So these are all things that, what I try to do, in my kind of bad mixing attempts with things is learn what to do on the front end more. For me, this has been huge to help define my drum sounds. Again, overall, these drums are recorded really well. They're tuned well. They're played well. It's just some things to help. The gating, as far as the toms, some of that stuff I try to take care of with dampening. But if that's not the right sound, if they should ring out, then cool, they should ring out. But the gating is not something I would do before recording. I don't own outboard gear to take care of that there. But yeah, just trying to EQ a bit. I just started using Universal Audio A to D, and I can do a lot more things on the front end now with software, which is really cool. Maybe there'll be a point where I try to actually gate some things on the front end. But yeah, overall sounds excellent. I would if I was receiving this song as a writer or something, I'd be very happy with these tracks. So I think the overall thing, just to repeat myself again, is just try to define on the front end a little more. Make sure we label things totally correctly. And again, maybe that's just me. Mess with this rack tom placement a bit. Maybe try to get less bleed, experiment with that. And just some minor EQ things. So I dig it. All right. Thanks, guys. Let me know. Please interact with me. I'm encouraging this as much as I can. Emails, comments on these videos that are going up. Anything that can be helpful. Anything that you guys are looking for. Share this stuff if you like it. Take a screenshot. Do whatever. Anything to help grow the channel. But please interact as much as you can. Let me know if you'd like something critiqued. Let's chat. Hit me up in an email, and we'll go from there. All right. Thanks.